Far too many years ago, I served on the board of a business called IPC Magazines. We were the largest consumer magazines publisher in Europe, over 100 magazines. And we used to boast at the time 1 out of 2 British women read an IPC magazine. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of the big publishing conglomerate Reed Elsevier, public company. 10 of us on the board, did a management buyout, we bought the business and went private. We had to raise £860 million to buy the business. Still, the largest management buyout in the history of the UK. We were backed by Cinven, big private equity house. Everything was about the numbers. Our guests, we are so privileged here tonight. Peter Cheese, Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development.
A strong culture is not a bad thing, but you've certainly got to have one that's adaptive and agile and reflects the changes in the world going on around us all the time.
Jean Tomlin, the HR Director for 2012.
I think it's very important to demonstrate consistently that you really mean what you say. It's about actually relating to people and being with them and allowing them to be with you.
We also have Professor Chris Brady from Salford University, our resident academic.
The behaviour is the written rules, the culture are the unwritten, embedded beliefs and rules.
The Mars brothers would always say to me, well, I'm going to tell you this now, never forget it. And they said to me, Alan, in business, only 2 things important. People, products. Forget about everything else. Businesses don't die, people kill them. That's how it is in business. That's why people are really important. And the people who kill them are the people who run them and the customers who go away from them. You know, so you can't get away. So great CEOs, good CEOs, they understand that people thing, that's the fundamental thing, and everything else spins off the back of it.
The whole thing was inspirational, a couple of key things to take away, and just very, very interesting. I really enjoyed it.
But the former chief executive, AXA UK, Aviva France, and now with the work he's doing at McKinsey, please give a really warm welcome to Philippe Masson.
You know, when you have these, first business life is a very long thing. You know, you start age whatever, 25, and probably in our generation we are not going to drop the ball before 65, 70, and probably you guys, you might even put a few more years on top of that. So you need to make sure that you introduce change in your career. So I had a very good run in my first half of career, raising through the ranks, exercising some senior responsibilities, changing company, having another go at it, and obviously you need to fuel your engine with new ideas, new thinking. The great thing at McKinsey is that I meet very young people, very bright, probably much brighter than I am, very efficient young people. So this is something that fuels you a lot.
At the specialist end, companies, the one that Justine runs or Asif Mashadi, are specialist niche firms that charge what they like, and they'll always be there. Back to Andrew's point about specialism, will always sell and have a place. In the middle end, there's decimation, where people will say on their website, we've got great people. In fact, if you go on any of the consulting websites, it will say, we've got great people. Andrew's absolutely right. That is not enough. It was never enough, and we got away with it post Y2K because you had a body and you could code. So guess what? You got employed. Those days are over. It's just people haven't noticed. And when organizations like McKinsey are looking at who they are and what they are, watch out, because there's dramatic change afoot. It's just that people aren't talking about it, apart from this platform, Renee.
I found your comments earlier really interesting about people not standing for anything like they used to in the past. I work in education, and I'm new to the world of employment myself. And as a teacher, from the top and the bottom, what can you do at the top to remedy that? And what can I do at the bottom in my classroom to remedy that?
Great question.
Your question is a phenomenal one, because the large organizations that are getting into the $1 billion+ have an anthropological setup. They have a feel. And however high you are in that organization, the organization may be warping you to do things that you're not comfortable with.
Phil mentioned Y2K as a point when things did change. I reckon that I'll say the industry, we were probably 90%, 99% maybe time and materials in that day. I reckon if we're 10% now, where it's either now fixed price, performance-based, mixture of or whatever. It's that significant, I think.
Wow, so that's a huge change.
Now, you still have day rates that you somehow have to quote, but the actual deal is very, very different from what it used to be.
But that means consulting is changing. So let's say another question. Prior to 2007, you had a good enough brand, a good enough strategy, a good enough management team. It was good enough. This is no longer good enough. It is time for a new sort of leadership. Pavita Cooper, Amanda McKenzie, and David James.
You need to know that life for you is going to be harder than it is for other people. And I said, really? Well, why is that? Because you're a girl and because you're not white. But it did teach me that I had to work twice as hard and be better than everybody else, which is what I did. 25 years later, I found myself, after a very successful career in many of the FTSE 100 businesses, at the top 50 in a big institution, one of the most senior women, the only person of colour at that level. So I decided to leave and do something very, very different, which required a huge amount of courage.
I was the first woman on their exec committee in 300 years. I'd been on it for 7 years. I'm also on the Mother Care Board and the National Youth Orchestra, and I'm on Lord Davis's steering group to get more women on board.
Question?
Cultural change comes as a consequence of behavioural change. Sometimes you have to force those behavioural changes.
You're doing something, but it's not enough.
I'm going to say one thing about the FIFA thing, and that is that I identified very strongly with Gary Lineker's yuck.
But it's not working at the moment. Fact.
And that's why we've got to keep asking that question.
Dan, Chris, David, please give them a fantastic round of applause.
Really great debate around the business of football, and those two words don't always go together well, so we had a really spirited discussion. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Well, I love these kind of initiatives. You challenge us as speakers to come and engage in very topical debate, but then take whatever's coming from the audience in the second half.
This evening was a really fantastic example of how Solver Business School and ILN can work together in the future to really bring best practice across a range of industry sectors to an applied problem.
Today there are more of these in the world than there are toothbrushes.
Because you are connected in a way that you've never been connected. There is immediacy. There is also, I believe, still really as importantly, proximity.
How do you blend physical and digital together in a humanized technological experience?
I don't know a lot about what happens behind the scenes in the digital world. These guys, they opened up the bonnet and let me get a good look inside. Those are always really good. They come with type of insights that I'm looking for, because I can't wait to see what they come up with next.
Thank you so much.